Rebic, Rafa, tira, gol! Rafael Leao! Oggi segna Leo! La mia giornata è iniziata così! Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined by a not very suntanned, but still back from vacation, hopefully rested, Madison.
Yeah, I sat underneath an umbrella the entire time because I did not want to turn into a lobster. But yeah, definitely refreshed and ready to go.
Excellent stuff. And we've got Stefano for the first time in what feels like weeks, stepping up to the plate while AJ is away in Utah or something.
Yeah, it's probably months actually. It's been since I've last come back. But yeah, obviously I've been away recently as well. So we've refreshed me and Maddie to give our input.
Ready to attack Saturday night's game, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got a game to recap to preview and obviously some questions to go through. But we got to start with that game on Saturday night. Talking from a personal point of view, what had happened in the day already? My local side, Huddersfield, won to stay in the playoffs, having a great season. I won 2 bets for a total of about 130 quid. Leeds lost, which was fantastic. And I was thinking there's only one thing that could let this day down, and that is if Milan were to drop points at home against Hellas Verona. And when I was sat there at halftime sulking, I really thought that is exactly what was going to happen. It was a bit of deja vu, I think you could say, with us going 2-0 down. But I don't know, there's something weird about this team. They keep finding a way. And in the end, it was 3 points that perhaps on the balance of play in terms of what we created in open play. You might say we were a bit lucky. You might say that we deserved it and we edged it. But I think you've got to give credit for the substitutions that were made.
Mm-hmm.
Things were going badly. Things were
going well. Real bad. We looked the first half. I was like, these next 3 or 4 weeks are going to be real hard to watch. I was like, we finally hit the injury crisis that is going to take us down. And then when Samu came on at halftime, I was like, we're done. Like, there is no way, And then we turned things around incredibly well. I was happy to see Leao come on for Rebic. I know that it's because he was injured. But I like seeing Leao on the wing way more than Rebic, and I think that started to turn things up a little bit. Nothing good happened in the first half, but then second half, we looked good. We found the back of the net twice. They found the back of their own net once, and we came away with all 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on Samuel coming on. I think what was quite important when he did come on, and I think it was a lot of players were doing it. They were willing to take on, do more than just passively go through the game. Samuel looked like. Well, he didn't look like what he previously looked like before because he not had a point to prove, but I think he just kind of thought, why not? If I'm going to get 45 minutes in this game, why not go out and attack players and be willing to do more than just, pass sideways or pass it back to the fullback. And I think that's a lot of players took that example lightly out. With the cross for the first goal, for example, you just thought, why not get this in the box and see what happens when you got Romagnoli and Giroud in there. And obviously as the game went on and the confidence grew, I think we just kind of, we saved ourselves out of what would have been a very frightening situation, especially with the injuries kicking in and Teo and Brahim going down with COVID. But I think it's a great confidence result because as well, coming back from 2-0 down at half time, it's fantastic to get. And I think that's going to do us really well for the coming weeks and giving belief that this group, despite who goes on the pitch, can give 100% and get results.
Yeah, spot on. Belief is a big thing. Momentum's a big thing. Confidence as well. The mentality of this group has never really been in question, but there were definitely times last season when we dropped silly points at home against teams that we shouldn't have. And one of those occasions was against Hellas Verona when we went 2-0 down in that game. Relatively similar time in the season as well, when we were on a roll and we thought, here it all falls apart. And we did end up dropping points, albeit a last-minute equaliser in that particular game. And this time, like I say, it felt like deja vu. It felt like we'd sort of succumbed to the same things. As Maddie says, I thought that the legs or lack of legs had caught up to us a little bit. The press didn't seem as precise, as intense in the first half. That we switched off badly for the first goal. If we're going to break it down incident by incident, it was a nothing ball back over the top, really, and Calabria loses his man. I've seen some people blame Tatarashanu for his sort of getting a hand to it, but it going in. I just think it's tough. You know, he shouldn't be in a position where he has to make that reaction save, to be honest. Calabria has to stick with his man there. I don't think it was his best game. I don't think it was an absolute horror show either, but that kind of set the tone for a sloppy first half then. We were chasing the game without creating as much as we normally do. And then the penalty, we've since seen the replays, and I think we're all in agreement that it probably wasn't a penalty. But Romagnoli, I don't want to say he was naive because it wasn't a penalty, and I don't know how to word this, but he could have maybe been a little bit more streetwise in that position and not put his body in a position where it looks like he's chopped him down, because we know what VAR's like. Even if he's pleading with the referee that he got stamped on first, which did happen, there's too much pride in Italian refereeing, and very often the original decision is not overturned. So perhaps don't put yourself in that position, but also I always champion and appreciate aggressive defending, so it is what it is. And I thought Rebic was probably the one who was trying to do things until he went down with that injury. He beat his man a couple of times. But overall, it just looked like we'd kind of limped into that halftime break. And when you look at the players that we had out, you know, Teo and Brahim going down with COVID the day before the game, it really disrupts all of the plans. Menyan, obviously, with his long-term wrist problem that he's got. Bakayoko wasn't there, you know, to be able to offer some depth and physicality to the midfield if we needed it. Messias wasn't there, which left us weak in that particular position. Just so much stuff stacked up and made it quite a challenging set of circumstances to get a result. And then going in at 2-0 down, I would have bet the house on us not winning the game. Maybe that's me just being pessimistic, but I just thought everything was stacked against us at that point. But I think the turning point, and it's obvious to say because it was the first goal, but was the one bit of quality that we finally managed to produce. Leao finding the space to whip in a perfect delivery, and Giroud making the runs that we know that he can make, and a trademark header from him. And then it felt like, okay, we've got 30 minutes at least left here. You know, we can get that second goal, and then there's only one winner after that. And that's the way it went. Did you think it was a penalty on Samu? Was it a make-up call, do you think?
I think that there was better calls to give penalties for, but I'll take it. You know, I'm not gonna. On Paramount, they didn't really show a lot of good replays of any of the penalties. It looked like he just got boxed out of the ball, and he fell. And I was like, you know, in another game that wouldn't be called a penalty, but today.
Yeah,
if it hadn't have been a penalty, do you think it would have been overturned on VAR to a penalty?
No.
I don't think so, but I don't know. There is contact, though. There is contact.
I think he's quite intelligent by he spins his body round before he gets to the ball, doesn't he? I think if he kind of goes into it approach running at the ball like that without the spin, I think it just looks like he's just fumbled himself over. But it does kind of that thing when you kind of track your leg around the ball and the contact comes in, it does sell it quite well. I think the Kalinic one as well. If you rewatch the replay of the whole penalty that he got, you see him calling for the ball when I can't remember, is it Caprari's got sort of Tomori isolated on the left side of it. So he's somewhat saying look, I know this defender's quite brash with his challenges. So it's quite intelligence you see from buying a penalty. I mean the Samuel one, I think it's deserved. I think the way the progressive move, even with him clipping the ball forward to Leao, it just made the whole thing sell a lot better. I'm not saying that in the nicest way possible, but I think the penalty from before weighed in with his decision. And obviously, when you're at home and you've got the fans screaming for it, that's what gets you these decisions, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that if it didn't go our way, it would have made him look real bad. I think, because I can't tell you how many times I'm watching an Everton game and Richarlison just falls in the box and he's trying to get a penalty. And it's like, come on, man. When, in this case, Samu could have done something else if it didn't get called a penalty. It did, but, it's all hindsight.
I do think the previous weeks have look, I'm not to sound like, it's an eye for an eye sort of thing, but what we've been received in the previous weeks, not the Atletico game, because that's obviously Champions League, but the Atalanta game, the two questionable decisions at the end of that one, and obviously the penalty prior to that, these things do come into effect. And maybe that referee saw the response the Atalanta referee got, and he probably thought, I probably need to counterbalance my decision here.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't fancy that here on social media.
Look after myself. And yeah, it's, like, to be honest, I didn't hear an uproar of people saying that shouldn't have been a penalty for Castillejo. So I kind of feel like, you can see a lot worse, you can see a lot better. But I kind of think over the grand scheme of things, it was the right decision. I mean, of course it is.
yeah, we're going to say that. Also, I think, I don't know if this is a theory that referees apply. Like, the mind works in weird ways, and obviously they've got to deploy the letter of the law to the best of their ability and all that. But I wonder if there's like a 2 half shouts equals a penalty thing. So we had that handball shout, for the ball that ricocheted inside the box and it hit the arm of the Verona player as it was out here. Now, by the rules, that isn't a penalty anymore, because it was a deflection that then, ended up hitting his arm. But by the rules, the one on Messias wasn't a penalty either against Atalanta. So it's like, I don't know, maybe he deployed it right in this circumstance, but because it was still a shout in our favour, when Samu went down, he was like, okay, they can have this one. That's the second appeal. But yeah, that was 2-2. And then how confident were you on a scale of 1 to 10 when that second goal went in that we were going to go on and get the winner?
100%.
Yeah,
I
was 10 out of 10.
Pretty certain, but I didn't think it was going to be an own goal.
No, I know.
I thought for sure that we were going to score it.
Psychology, like, it's a strange thing, innit? I mean, there's been some newspaper articles that came out from the game afterwards saying, funnily enough, that own goal happened not long after Zlatan came on. And then they're trying to link it to the idea that, there was the presence of 2 centre forwards in the box there. The cross comes in, and it's Koray Gunter who knows, I've got to deal with this. I have to get something on it because one of them will be waiting behind me. And maybe that did play into his mind. And it's unfortunate, but I really don't know why he stabs at it with his left foot, to be honest. That didn't make a lot of sense. You got to get a clean connection on it, then you side foot it with your right. But I don't know if he is left-footed. And if he is, then there can't be many centre-backs who are like really bad with their weaker right foot. But anyway, we'll take it. And what I liked the most, scruffy goal aside, the amazing jubilant celebrations, the whole team just jumping on top of each other over in that corner, the fans running over to them, up against the railings and stuff. I just thought, like that Lazio game, but not quite as monumental as that Lazio last-minute winner just before Christmas last year when Teo scored. Those moments where you think, is this something? Is something happening here? We've overturned a 2-goal deficit with all this injury crisis, and you see scenes like that, and it just reignites the magic a bit, doesn't it?
Maddie?
Yeah,
yeah, it does for sure.
Yeah. I think, like, was our last game prior to this, was that Atletico or was it Venezia? I'm not quite sure if my memory is correct.
It was Atletico.
So I feel like there's a slight bit of, was it? Yeah, I think it was Atletico.
Wasn't that? Was it?
Yeah,
because Venezia.
I thought we had a game before the international break.
Atalanta away.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like with that Atletico game taken into account, and obviously the monstrous performance that the team put on, and to come away with a loss, despite, obviously decisions and circumstances not being in our favour, and then obviously coming back from, there's the motivation then can add to, like, the atmosphere of the stadium. And it is, Isaac went to the game, and I feel I'm completely envious that he did, because that would have been such a thing to be seen. I know it's Hellas Verona, and you could say that, what is just another 3 points, but these things count because you take the injury circumstances that we're going through. You take, what happened to us in our last home game against Atletico, and I just think that that's such a sigh of relief, and that jubilation to finally be in the stadium, and like the Lazio game, to be in that stadium when that happened, when Teo scored that header. The fans were stripped away from that, and now they finally see something, that comeback. That I think that's great to see, and I think that's going to hold weight for the team going forward. So yeah,
I mean, these are the games that you get top 4 from. For the past, I don't know how long I've been on the podcast now, maybe 4 years. I used to be saying the opposite. These are the games that we drop points and we don't get top 4. Now it's the opposite way. So And it's nice to see the team bounce back after 2 defeats in the Champions League to fight like they have been fighting.
Yeah. After that Atletico game, it would have been easy for the heads to drop, especially with that Atalanta game coming up, which is a tough trip. And then we roared out to a 3-0 lead, and it was like, this team have got a different mentality this time. They believe, and they were doing it without Ibra and Giroud. Obviously, they're both back now, and touch wood, they will be for a while. But it's great to see. And it's funny what you mentioned about the crowd. How many times did our own fans, rival fans, pundits, the media all say that once fans come back into San Siro, this young team, if they go behind or whatever, they won't be able to cope mentally with the pressure of playing at San Siro. If anything, it's become like an extra weapon for us because they're there to encourage. The support's been there. This is the thing. We are a tough fan base to play in front of at home. Always have been, especially during the difficult years. But when things are going well, there are no better fans to play in front of. Like, that's the bottom line. And I think the fans now, especially after a game like that, will realise, even if we go a goal or 2 down in a game, keep cheering, keep encouraging, because it is not done. The game is not over. And that was it. It's a memorable comeback. I just hope that we don't end up 2-0 down in games like that again. Let's not have the stress levels that we had this time. But we'll do tops and flops now. Top, it's fairly difficult. I think it's between 2 for me. And it's the 2 players that had hands in the goals. I'm going to go with Rafael Leao. It'd be easy to pick Samu, and I think Samu could definitely get a sentimental nod as well, given what we saw after the game where he was in tears. Like, it was an outpouring of emotion from him, and it's rare that you see it so raw and obvious from players nowadays. But I think it's clear to see that he still very much cares about the club. He cares about putting 100% in every time that he's called upon. He hadn't been called upon much this season. He said in an interview after the game, he felt like his own mother didn't even want him, which people took literally, but it's just a figure of speech. Obviously.
When I read that, I was like, what happened? Like, what's going on in his personal life?
No wonder he was crying, the poor guy. But no, I guess it's just a figure of speech. But he said about the jubilation of returning to play at his home, which I think those words resonated. And who knows if that changes the course of his future? We don't know. But that was nice to see, and he could have been a shout for man of the match. But I'm going to go with Leao. I think just the energy, the electricity that he provided when he came on was absolutely crucial. And, he provided just intent, like directness. And it's hard to really put into words until you see it and you realise that what we have there is a lethal weapon off the bench, and he scares anyone, even a team that had decided to put 5 at the back because they were 2-0 up. He caused problems. Great cross for the first goal. Neat interchange that led to the penalty for the second goal. So, yeah, I'll give it Rafa.
I'm going to give it to Rafa as well because he's the one who started the comeback with the assist to Giroud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so which was a beautiful cross. Just he makes it look so easy.
It was almost off balance, like he almost backpedaling crossed that one in, and it was.
He is always smiling.
Always
smiling.
Yeah,
because he knows.
Even when he fucks up, he's smiling, and it makes me smile because I'm like, this man's out here so happy.
Yeah. He just enjoys playing football.
He's loving life. I mean, it would be easy to go for Samuel. You have to give credit. I feel like when we're missing players like Teo, Brahim, even Leao not starting, we're missing those progressive players who can, even dribble with the ball. And I have to give credit to Samuel. He was willing to, do these flick-ons and bring the ball forward. But I think Leao's the right decision. But I also will say for Krunic as well, he was pretty positive when he came on. He's someone that deserves this sort of respect. But definitely Rafael Leao and his explosion of a career so far this season.
Yeah, long may that continue. 4 goal contributions in the league now, in addition to the 2 that he's got in 2 Champions League games. Yeah. All summer we were talking about, is this the year for Rafa? It kind of has to be, or otherwise we might cash in on his value. But so far he's justifying the faith of the management. Flop of the match, guess we should talk about the fullbacks. Ballo-Torres stepped in for Teo Hernandez, who obviously has COVID, as mentioned. I mean, we weren't expecting the world from him as a €4.2 million signing. And I won't say that he's had an absolute horror show so far. However, he was perhaps a bit underwhelming in that game on Saturday. Calabria, as I say, I don't think he had his best game either. Tough to point the finger at too many others. I wouldn't point the finger at Romagnoli, despite the fact we conceded twice and he conceded a penalty. But I'm gonna go, and this feels harsh, and I think people are gonna roast me for this, but I have to say Daniel Maldini. And I know that seems harsh, but he was so good. He was going to be so important in that game. You know, they play a 3-4-1-2, and what we needed is a Brahim type player, which Maldini isn't perhaps that, but we needed someone who was going to drop in between the lines and cause a bit of disorganisation, allow Giroud to play off one of the shoulder of one of the centre backs. He never got himself established in the game, and what that meant is that Giroud ended up dropping in deeper and deeper to try and contribute and to try and establish us in the final third. It did feel a bit like playing with 10 men at some times, and I think he was rightly withdrawn at half-time for Rade Krunic. That's as far as I'll go with it. I just think it was a bit of an underwhelming game for him. He's going to have them. You know, he's 20 years old. He just turned 20 years old. It was his second ever Serie A start. Hellas Verona are no mugs. You know, they'd won 2 of the last 4, unbeaten in 4 going into that game. And it happens. But fair play to Pioli for realising it wasn't working and bringing on Rade Krunic to do a good job. So, yeah.
You just stole my thunder, because during our last thing, I was like, who's my flop, you know? But I won't say Maldini, I'll say Ballo-Touré. I think that when we were taking the pressure that we were getting, did I say his name wrong?
No, I think you just mixed Stefano's.
Yeah, you're both. I actually was going to say Maldini first, and then you took Ballo-Touré, but yeah, go on.
I think that when that in the first half, when we were taking the pressure that we were taking, you depended a lot on your fullbacks to get the ball out and create the chances on the wings, especially the way that we play most of the time. And he was just not able to do that. So
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I agree with the analysis on both players. I kind of want to throw in as well, not because necessarily a bad game, but I do feel like if a substitute comes on and does a lot better than yourself, it does say something about you and your position. And I'm his biggest fan usually, but Salamakers, then it comes off at half time for Castillejo. And once again, we've got another performance where he just doesn't quite stand out. And yes, his defensive, I love his defensive capabilities, but in a game like this where, we're losing 2-0 at half time, and I'm going to look at what you're doing on the other side of the pitch. And to be honest, he came off for a player who added a lot to this side and helped us pretty much get the win. So I'm not going to say Salamakers, but I'm just saying he should be in and around the conversation just because.
I'll say Gian's about to bite your head off, man.
I'm about to lose my Twitter followers as well for this. But, no, I'm going
also.
To go for,
No, I was going to say we should briefly mention Salamakers' renewal as well.
Of course, yeah.
That kind of came absolutely out of nowhere. He got a 2-year extension until 2026. We've got to presume there's a little bit of a pay rise in there, but the details on that haven't really come out. But I think more of a symbol amongst all of the uncertainty surrounding Kessié, Romagnoli, that we can get stuff done under the radar and we can be efficient. And now it makes you wonder what's next. Could we surprisingly announce, Teo Hernandez is extended, for example, and that's what the rumor is at the moment. So
it also makes you think management's learning.
Proactive, not reactive. It's about time. About time.
They watch our videos. I'm gonna probably go for Ballo-Touré. I'm gonna go for Ballo-Touré. I just don't think I'm kind of concerned that we say it that when we've only really got €5 million to work with, what sort of player of great quality can we bring in? I'm not really convinced from what I'm seeing right now. I just don't think I think he's in a position right now. He's not being bold enough, but at the same time, he's just making. I don't know. It's hard when he's coming on the pitch for probably one of the greatest left backs in the world. So it's really hard to transition your weight of expectations. But it just looks like a complete fool of a play, like position wise for depth. Kalulu in Calabria transition is simple because not the same level, but at least Kalulu offers qualities in different aspects of the pitch, whereas Ballo-Touré just looks
Been
lot
here
more
a year
woeful.
longer as well. I think time. He needs time.
Look, yeah,
does
time.
Balotore.
But then I'm equally going to go Maldini or Ballatore. I'm just going to edge it to Ballatore as more of the worst.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about Balotore, the effort was certainly there, and the desire to get
Yeah.
involved in the game. He didn't make a mistake leading to a goal or anything like that. It's just you realise what Teo offers, and that is more than your average left back offers. Let's be honest. But that was it. 3 points, and we stay second in the table, unfortunately, because Napoli beat Torino 1-0, but we move 5 ahead of Inter, who got beat by Lazio. Roma got beaten by Juventus, which kind of tightens things up in and around those final spots. Most importantly, perhaps 8 points off 5th place already, which is very nice to see, especially with direct clashes coming up where we might have to face them with injuries like Inter and Roma. Champions League time. Cue the jingle. Yes, so this is it, boys. It's do or die time, really, isn't it? Let's face it. I think the one thing that I'm finding it quite hard to get as excited about this game, perhaps because it's like our least famous opponent in the group, let's say, with no disrespect meant to Porto there. Away from home as well. We've lost our first 2 games. But then I'm almost like content with it because I know that our fate will be decided after this game one way or another. We're either still in it or we're not in it at all anymore. We either win to keep our hopes alive, or if we don't, then we can forget about it as far as I'm concerned. And I honestly wouldn't mind us then finishing 4th, so we miss out on dropping into the Europa League. But that's a discussion for down the line, hopefully. We travel to Porto, to the Estadio do Dragão, to face Porto, who are currently second in their league. They've won 6 of their opening 8 games, haven't lost yet. They finished second last season as well, won the league the year before that. They've got a good manager in Conceição, does know Italian football. Obviously, famously, Porto knocked Juve out of the Champions League, which was fantastic. We all really enjoyed that, so God bless Porto for that. This isn't going to be an easy game like I've seen some people making out. People talking about it like, if we're a serious side, we should be winning comfortably. I think the fact that Porto went to Atletico and got a 0-0 draw in that first group stage game shows that when they want to be, they can be a bastard of a team to play against. But then they got beat 5-1 by Liverpool in their last group game, so that perhaps gives us the inspiration as well that we can get goals, we can get them early, and we can put them in trouble. I'm finding it really tough to call, though. One thing I will say is that the guy to look out for, and not only to look out for, but also perhaps a guy that should maybe be on our transfer target list, is attacking midfielder Luis Diaz, Colombia international, I believe, who's already got 6 goals this season. He's 24 years old. We could do with perhaps a long-term option for the playmaker position. So keep an eye on him tomorrow night, definitely. But Mehdi Tarami's doing a good job. He's got 4 goals this season. Tony Martinez. And then you've got the players that we know well. Sergio Oliveira, who we were linked to briefly in the summer. Pepe, of course, formerly of Real Madrid. Chancel Mbemba, formerly of Newcastle, I think, which is a funny one. But yeah, João Mario, Marco Grujic, formerly of Liverpool. There's some big names in there,
Wasn't the one we were linked with as well in the summer? Is it Jesus Corona?
He's still there. He's still there. I think he's been starting off the bench this season, but it's not going to be a straightforward game. I'm finding it a really tough one to predict, to be totally honest. But one thing that excites me about it is that both teams need a win. This ain't going to be played out for a draw at any point. I think both teams will go intense. We've got Bakayoko back, which is a boost. Giroud should be fit enough to start. Ibra should be fit enough to play more minutes off the bench. Kessié suspended, which is a blow. But Tonali and Benacer, arguably our 2 informed midfielders still at this point, should form the double pivot. Imagine Krunic will come into the 11 as an attacking midfielder. The latest rumours are that Calabria will start at left back, and Pierre Kalulu will start on the right, and Kier will come back in for Romagnoli. So we're putting out, you could arguably say whatever about that left back position, but putting out a pretty strong 11. Just don't have the attacking game changes perhaps off the bench that we might have wanted. But yeah, find it.
We think Rebic or Leao is going to start on the wing.
Rebic is going to be out by the sounds of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
Cool.
got no ligament damage from the sprained ankle, which is good, and he should be back for the Bologna game, but they're not going to risk him tomorrow. He wasn't even included in the squad, so he'll be out. So Leao will get the nod and playing in his own country.
I will start digging our grave now. I don't think we're going to win. I think that the difference maker is going to be Tata Frisanu. I think he's going to let in a few blunders.
A few? Bloody hell.
I think it's going to.
How many are they winning by?
I think they'll win by 1, but I don't know what the score will be. Will be a close one though.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I do think we've got, I think, our 2 losses in the Champions League so far. On the way we reacted after those losses, the Atalanta game. I can't remember what the game was after we played Liverpool. Oh, that was Juventus, wasn't it? Juventus draw. We've approached those games in the right mentality. Yes, Juventus one was a bit rusty the first half, but we seem to do well after we put a shift in the Champions League. So I don't really want us to rock up and be a shell of ourselves and not do ourselves justice. I think the Calabria decision to play my left back is going to be quite well. I think has to be the right decision, because I'm really worried if Ballatore plays in the game like this, and we need someone who can progress the ball up a little bit more. So using Calabria there would be great. And having Krunic as like at the 10 role, I think is good for like discipline. I think we can win this like maybe 2-1 or 1-0. I'm not too worried about their attack, because I think with Kaya back, fully rested, Tomori's just got the intensity to keep it up. Tata, I think, he's not perfect, but I think if you ask him to do the simple things, I think he'll be fine with it. I just think, if we can use our luck wisely and referees don't decide to shaft us, I think we can win this game, 1-0 or 2-1.
I mean, just a win, just to get those first 3 points on the board would be massive.
Yeah.
I know I said it's hard to call, but I'm going to put my neck on the line here and say that the dream stays alive. I look down Porto's team, and I think if we can get a goal early on, and we can breach what they're known for, which is defensive solidity, just like Liverpool did, then we could have a fun night. I don't know why, I just get a good feeling about this. And I'm going to say that we win 3-1. And then what that means, I mean, what we're relying on really is Liverpool beating Atletico. Doing us a favour, and then we close the points gap there. But as I say, it's do or die, and I think that helps us. We can leave it all out there and say, okay, if we don't win this game, we gave it a go. We were unlucky. We were edged out in the first 2 games. Poor refereeing decisions in that second game in particular. But it's not our time. But we're going to get another go at it next year, hopefully, if we can stay in the top 4. I don't know. Maybe it can also play in our favour, being able to just go out there and play with a bit of freedom.
You mentioned you reckon Porto are going to come out all guns blazing, but I can't see that, because I think what I know from them and how they played in most of their games is that they're quite, the 4-4-2, they seem to be quite rigid. I think give it the first half, we're going to see quite a tight encounter. And then there's going to be the pressure probably from their home fans to be like, look, we need to kind of go for this game, especially if it's 0-0 at that point. I think it's going to be tighter, maybe like a goal in it. And then it's just going to be just like, all hands on deck on whoever's got that leading goal. But I don't know. Who am I to know? But
is this their first home game in the Champions League?
No, they lost 5-1 at home to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was home or away.
Their keeper had a complete disaster show in that game, didn't he? So
yeah,
we talk about our keeper. Look at theirs.
Yeah, let's just hope for a win anyway to keep things alive, keep things interesting. And then after that, we have Bologna on Saturday night, another Saturday night home game. Another Saturday night game, this time away from home at the Renato Dall'Ara. I mean, Bologna are one of those teams, and this is going to sound incredibly ignorant, but one of those teams that I know they're somewhere between 8th and 13th. I just wouldn't be able to tell you exactly where they are. Mihailovic is still their manager, obviously someone that we know well. They are 9th in the table, told you. They're actually 2 points behind Juve, which is funny. So far this season, they won 2 of their first 3 games. They got beaten 6-1 by Inter. They beat Lazio 3-0 at home in their last home game. Do you know what? They're not doing terribly. 3 wins, 3 draws, 2 defeats.
They beat Lazio 3-0
in their last home game. Yeah.
Tell you what, this is a weird season.
Yeah, it is. And they got knocked out of the cup by Serie B side Ternana 5-4 at home. So bit all over the place, as Bologna always are. The ones to look out for, it seems. You've got Marko Arnautovic, formerly of West Ham, who's currently on 3 goals. Musa Barrow, who does look a good player. He's on 3 goals. Young Scottish right back or left back, Aaron Hickey, has got a couple of goals. De Silvestri, who is obviously a veteran of the league. And there's also centre back Arthur Tieta, who looks like a good player as well. I mean, I don't know. This is another one where you think the way our away form has been anyway post lockdown, if we can just put in a performance which is average to above, then we should be looking to take all 3 points. Hopefully, we might even get a couple more back before then. If we can get Teo and Brahim testing negative, that's a good game to potentially give them some minutes again. I don't really have much more analysis on Bologna to give than that. They just seem to be stuck in a cycle of being pretty happy with finishing mid-table, which is good for a club like them. Recruitment-wise, they keep getting things right to an extent where they're signing young players, they're developing them, they're selling them. And yeah, I guess I'll just dive in with a prediction and say that we will win this one 1-0, and it's going to be a cagey game that's going to be settled by a first half penalty.
I think it's going to be 2-1. I don't think we'll be keeping many clean sheets the second half of 2021.
Yeah. Okay. Look at their side though. They play like similar to Hellas Verona. They play 3 at the back, from what I know. And I think one player we did mention there in the preview was Svanberg. He plays in midfield. We were linked with him, I think, in the summer. Quite peculiar. They don't seem to trust Orsolini anymore, so he seems to be rotting on their bench. So they rather play like Soriano and Barrow behind Arnautovic. So there is the threat of the counter-attacks. I think that's their main asset of goals. And you look at the Lazio game, that's where they got all 3 of their goals from, really. So they're not really like a possession-based side. We have to watch out that on the counter-attack. What I think with Tomori there now, I'm always confident that we're going to keep up with pace. I think I'm going for like a 2-1 in this one. I have to say as well, Ibra, there's this news that he might get extensive minutes against Bologna. So I'm quite interested to see if he may start, against Porto. So I'm interested to see who starts against Bologna. So whether there's going to be like a rotation of the striker position, or who knows.
I don't think Ibra is going to be starting against Porto.
No, it sounds like Ibra will be off the bench against Porto. Giroud will start, which is perfect, because then if you manage to get Ibra 30 minutes tomorrow night, then he should hopefully be fit for 60 maybe from the start on against Bologna, and he can be decisive in those games even at 40. We've seen that, Another player that I'll throw out there, because I want to be vocal about liking him, Jody Shooten. Unfortunately, he's been suffering a bit with injuries this season, but another defensive midfielder that we were linked with. I think he's been really nice whenever I've seen him, like a silky kind of player. Predictions in. Listener cues, we'll quickly scan through a few. Alessandro Gamba. De Sciglio's contract expires this summer. Would you take him back as a deputy fullback, given he can play both sides? No. I'll start off with a no. Do you know what? I think that De Sciglio was pretty bad when he was with us. But he played in some bad sides, and I don't think he was ever quite as bad as people made him out to be. There was quite an exaggeration and a scapegoating that happened. However, his return to Serie A just hasn't really gone to plan. He had a bit of a resurgence when he first went to Juve, but since then he seems to now be blamed for quite a few things. So I think we're looking elsewhere. If we're looking for fullbacks, if we need to replace anybody, I think we're probably looking at other targets. But it's an interesting question.
No. I was probably one of the few who liked him when he played for us. I mean, he left when he was like 20. So to say like he was bad is kind of unfair because he was so young. But he's a snake. We don't want no snakes on our team.
Valid point.
Ollie, you might know this one. What was that song? Remember Eamon? There was a song in the early 2000s. Fuck it, I don't want you back.
Yeah,
yeah. This applies.
That was a banger.
I would sing it. That was a banger. It was like top one, first in the charts for like 2 years. But I don't like no, just no. Like I get it, but to be honest, looking back and having like the inverted wing back who can, the right-footed left back and stuff. Like, look at us now. I'd rather we play players as well in the natural feet. We've got 2 left backs with both left feet and 2 right backs with right feet. Dalot was that hybrid, but which kind of like if we go for De Chilio, it's like a crap Dalot. So I don't really want that. It's just nah, he's awful. He's awful. Not awful as in like he's like woeful, but nah, it's just what's the point? Like, no offense.
Don't really fit our vision at all, does he? I mean, he's 28 years old.
Yeah, and
I dare I shock you here, Maddie. He was 25 when he left us.
Yeah,
I was just looking at that.
Yeah, I mean, I seem to
wait. He was 25. He's 28 now.
Yeah, so he left 3 years ago in 2017.
He left when we did the whole
crap.
20.
I didn't realize it was so like.
Yeah. He had that loan at Lyon where I think he bit indifferent really. He did play quite a lot of games for them, but I don't think, obviously not enough for them to sign him permanently. Interesting question. I guess we shall move on. Do you shift Calabria to the left side or go with this is for the game tomorrow, or go with a 3-5-2 and have 3 centre-backs and deploy him further up and have Kalulu/Balotore on the left? Interesting idea to switch to a 3-5-2 while I guess we've got a little bit of a gap on the left side, but I'm pretty happy with the lineup the way that it's shaping up at the moment, at least as per the reports. The thing what you mentioned about having a right foot at left back, I hope to see anyway situations where we build the ball down the left side and Calabria cuts in onto his right to cross towards Giroud, towards Ibra, whoever it might be, because who knows, that might cause something a bit different with the in-swinging balls. But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that. I wouldn't try and reinvent the wheel in a must-win game like this.
Maddie?
I don't think we should do that. I think we should keep it how we've been playing. Just put Calabria on the left and Kalulu on the right.
I think it's interesting with the 3 at the back thing, because I'd only try that if we got Theo back, because obviously we've seen how successful it was for France internationally. He's smashing it with them, playing as a sort of a left high wing back. Only when he's back. Otherwise, what's the point? Isn't it? You're sacrificing a midfielder just to facilitate, as another centre back or a wing back who isn't as strong as Theo. And we've got strength in the centre midfield positions, and I rely on Krunic as a decent cam. I mean, it's not the right time, but I do think that opportunities will arise once Theo's back, and we might have a few personnel issues elsewhere on the pitch and revert to a 3 at the back.
Yeah, fair. King Krunic asks, should Youngdahl be trusted between the posts, or should Tatarashanu be given another shot? I suppose we should talk about the fact that we signed Antonio Mirante as a free agent on a deal until the end of the season in light of Mignon's injury. We obviously wish Mike a speedy recovery and everything, and welcome Mirante to the club. I think it's fairly obvious what the hierarchy is at the moment. You've got Tatarashanu, then Mirante will probably be the backup. And then because Plisari's out with having had an operation on his shoulder, you've probably got Youngdahl down there in third. I'd like to say that we would be bold enough to start Youngdahl, who has just announced a contract extension today until 2024. But then at the same time, I trust the staff to know when he's ready to put in there. And Tatarashanu is paid to be a deputy goalkeeper, therefore a goalkeeper when we don't have our main goalkeeper. So I would definitely give him another start in an important game like this. He has Champions League games under his belt. And yeah, I mean, Youngdahl's time will come. There's no doubt about it. He's showing great promise at his age. I don't know if his time will come with us, whether it will take a loan, what it might take, especially with Mignon looking like our keeper for the future. But yeah, I can't say I'd throw him in there right now.
Yeah, like maybe for a Coppa Italia game or something, but not for League or Champions League.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a bit too soon. I'm interested to see where Mirante fits in this situation, because obviously we were linked with him towards the end of the last year, picking him up on a free to maybe replace Tata. I do kind of like him. I know he's not like a great choice, but I've always kind of liked Mirante. And I feel like eventually he will take the gloves off Tata before Minyan comes back in the new year. But I think it's a bit too early for Jung now. But I'm happy to see he's renewed his contract. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. That's another good renewal. Let's keep that exciting young car in place. I don't know how to say that. It's a lot. It's your boy John. Did you expect Diaz to shine the way that he has? One thing I will say is it's obvious when we miss him. Me and AJ had a bit of a debate in the group chat about who we would miss more. Like he said, Menyan is the worst player possible to get injured for us, and I said, it's Brahim Diaz because Messias is out. Maldini has shown inexperience playing the role, and I had doubts about Krunic playing there. If Brahim dropped, then we would be in real shit, and I think that we're starting to realise that a little bit now. He's been very important to us this season. He scored 3 match-winning goals already, and he scored in the Champions League already as well. So yeah, I think, did I expect him to be this important? No, I didn't. Going into last week of the market, I still thought we'd sign another attacking midfielder, and Brahim might be playing deputy, but it seems like Pioli's tweaked his system to get the best out of him, and long may that continue.
I think that I agree. I don't think that losing your goalie is the biggest player that you can miss, because if you're depending on your goalie to win you games, then you need to look at what else you have on the pitch.
Yeah, I kind of did expect Brahim, an increase in his career and his capabilities, but probably not to this degree. But I think that does come with getting more regular minutes, which he obviously is getting now with Hakan gone. And obviously, given the 10, that's sort of insinuating that there's a lot more trust in him. So I did expect a rise in his progression in his career, but I just didn't quite expect it to be like this. And he seems to be playing with such a great confidence and facilitated a role with himself in that sort of front four quartet with Rebic and Leao and Salamakers. I think it works perfectly for him. And that's why you also seen Leao get the best out of him as well.
Yeah, one thing we can all say is that he's been a big upgrade on Hakan in that position, and that in itself is enough. I love Kieri asks, what players do we need in January to get the Scudetto in our hands? This is an interesting one. Now, it's been quite hard to gauge it overall because obviously we've had a lot of injuries, so it's been like whack-a-mole trying to fill all the gaps that have come up. But I think definitely a number 10 still. I don't know if Messias is going to be able to offer us too many games this season, because of his age and because it's taken him so long to get sort of up to a fitness level. That would be nice. A number 10 that could play right winger perhaps would also do a job for us. There's people talking about getting another striker in. I'm just not sure on that. I will hold judgment on that until where we are in January, how many games Giroud's been able to give us. And yeah, then apart from that, I don't know. I think we're looking pretty good, to be honest. So I think the priority should definitely be a forward.
I would take a number 10 and a number 7, and then a striker if we have extra budget room, but I'm not going to get too greedy here.
We're saying to win the league, who we need, or like?
Yeah.
Is that what the question is?
Mm-hmm.
I think, all right, pending we don't get injured. I think this team's good enough to win the league as it currently is. Obviously, injuries are fucking us up, but so that is a reality. So we do have to address that by getting personnel in. Obviously, we can't rely on Samuel having games like that. So I think, I'm going to go with this sort of like the centre attacking midfield position, because once Brahim is out, it is quite evident that we do lack someone to progress the ball with the rest of the quality players. So I think the attacking midfield position, we get someone like Roman Fiver. I can never pronounce his name right. I think he'd be great.
Yeah, we actually got asked about him by somebody else when Roman Further will join in January. I mean, the rumours have started up again that we might be able to get him a bit cheaper than we could have done in the summer. He's still performing well, but I think his head's already elsewhere. He's put himself in the shop window with how he's performing. Would like to see that. He fits the bill. Exciting, high potential, etc.
He also wants to join, right?
Yeah.
Like it's exciting to have players who are speaking out saying like, I wanted to join. It's like, oh wow, you want to join us?
Yeah.
I think it will happen. I think it will happen.
Yeah, they're in a tough position now, Brest. But yeah, we should be looking to prey on opportunities like that. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Got plenty of good questions in, so thank you to all who submitted. But it's been a cracker, boys. I'm hoping that when we do this next week, we'll have 2 more wins under the belt, and we'll still be in our Champions League hopes won't be done yet. Anyway, let's put it that way. But in the meantime, I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. Being joined by Madison.
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Edward__Toth.
Stefano, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, find me on Twitter at Steph_Sartori. Yeah, always great to chime in once you guys need a spot to fill. So.
Absolutely. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe this video. Subscribe to our channel. Sorry if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us on all the social medias. Check out our Redbubble shop and all that good stuff. And yeah, thank you very much if you made it this far, and we'll catch you in a week's time.
Eccolo Ante in area di rigore, Ante, vibra, gol! Vediamo se è buono, ce lo dà buono,